Let's see. Can you all hear me? Oh, this is the problem. So let me know if you can hear me. Just go ahead and put something in the in the chat. Let me know if you can hear me. Okay. So got that fixed. All right. So welcome everyone. Welcome back to the Black Carnivore podcast. Now that you can hear me. So Arian is not here tonight. So it's just, you and me, and we're going to chat and we're going to have a great conversation. So I encourage you to let me know that you're here. Put something in the chat. Let me say hi to the family, say hi to everyone, and let's get into the conversation. And you might notice I've got glasses on. So I finally got new glasses. I finally went to see the eye doctor. It's been forever, and I really needed to do it. So yes, finally done. And so of course I'm going to sport my glasses tonight. But I probably won't be doing that on on the regular. Okay, Runner for Peace. Hey, glad you can hear me. Okay, so sorry, I got that messed up, but it's fixed now. So tonight I wanted to talk about the difference between the keto and carnivore diet. And I wonder do you guys know what the difference is? Let me know in the chat if you do. So, for me, I see them as one and the same. Carnivore is also a ketogenic diet. It is important for me to be in ketosis, and in the beginning I used to check my ketones and see where I was in the process, and I wanted to make sure that I was in ketosis. So I do see them as they're on the same spectrum. They're in the low carb ketogenic realm, and there's just a slight difference between keto and carnivore. Mommy does keto. Awesome. I'm so glad you made it on time. So it's just me tonight. So, feel free to ask me some questions as well. So I'm going to do my best to carry a show all by myself. I think I've only done this once before. So, I've got to learn at some point. And now's an opportunity. So definitely feel free to jump into the chat and ask some questions. But as I was saying, I think a ketogenic diet, I think a carnivore diet is keto. And it is important to be in ketosis. There's a lot of research about how a ketogenic diet can help reverse metabolic syndrome and, the signs of metabolic disease. And it also has really positive effects on the brain, on mood, and on a lot of things. And I think that all of those effects are still there for a carnivore diet. You're getting those beneficial effects. But there's this further benefit that you get on carnivore that you don't necessarily see on keto. And I think that really has to do with this inflammation thing. And, I see the main kind of benefits that I see are things around autoimmune problems, whether you're talking about allergies or asthma or, lower leg edema or, IBS symptoms, or, even, skin stuff, asthma, that sort of thing. These are all kinds of inflammation that happen around the body. And then even brain stuff is going on. So you've got a lot of mood disorders and mental health disorders that seem to be connected to inflammation. So I think that carnivore allows you to really, really bring down inflammation in a way that no other approach is able to do. And that is what makes carnivore so different for me. So if you look at the thumbnail that I created and I put for this video, you'll see that, the picture of me, I think it was taken right at the very beginning of my doing carnivore. And then 2 years later, there was a dramatic difference in the look of my face. My face was much more swollen and puffy, and there was not a difference in how much I weighed on the scale. I mean, certainly, I had some recomposition going on like everybody does, but there wasn't a dramatic difference in my weight. I really think it just had to do with the inflammation. And, being able to, I had so many things happen to me that, that were so just amazing, first of all, being able to breathe, getting my asthma fully under control in a way that it had not been for years. I had been having significant trouble breathing for 5 years. And prior to, to taking out dairy. So, so that was a really big deal for me. I had lost my sense of smell for a long time, for years, not even really knowing, I was living with a dog at the time. So I think that, just on top of all the other, allergens and things I was eating, just, it just put me over the, just really brought it to a head. So, being able to get all of that inflammation down allowed me to have a level of, I don't know what's the opposite of inflammation? Like flatness that I've never, ever had before. So anyway, for me, that is kind of what I see as a difference between a keto and a carnivore diet. It is, the difference is just, I heard Dr. Westman talk about, net carbs versus regular carbs, or counting whole carbs as the difference between, an over-the-counter medication versus a prescription medication. It's a matter of degrees. And I kind of see carnivore as like the extra strength prescription. Like it just does, quite a bit more, and it helps you just quite a bit more. So that's why I'm so excited about bringing it to people. I think it has, it just has a level of efficacy that is so helpful and important and, transforming. So let's see, I've got, I see some comments in here. So Mommy Does Keto says, I think there's definitely a spectrum of the ketogenic diet. In my opinion, clean keto, ketovore, and carnivore are the way to go. Yeah, I would agree with that. And, the way we talk about doing carnivore in the Black carnivore community, I describe 3 different buckets. So we've got strict carnivore, moderate carnivore, and relaxed carnivore. And, depending on what your needs are or your goals are, that determines, where you fall along that spectrum. But you can also, move between those buckets, daily, weekly, it's kind of up to you how you want to do that. So I kind of think about relaxed carnivore, where you're including, meat, fat, salt, water, eggs, dairy, as well as, coffee, spices, and low sugar fruits. And in relaxed carnivore, you're also adding in, perhaps artificial sweeteners sometimes, and some low carb vegetables from time to time. So when you get to that point, you're kind of in that clean keto area. It's so, still in that category, you're not really having all the keto treats that I find, of course, are delicious, but often really cause people to just totally fall off track and their keto program really gets messed up. So I do think it's really important, and I'm going to continue to stress in this in this community that focusing on clean keto and carnivore and clean eating, generally speaking, is the that's the ideal. That's where we want to move. And obviously there are going to be times when you don't do that, but the regular, where you want to be on the long term, the regular, in your regular program is consuming whole foods that are natural, recognizable to humans, several thousand years ago, just, regular food. So that's a great observation. so mommy does keto. Yeah, there was a night and day difference between me on carnivore and me a few years later on carnivore. I was really surprised too, because I felt like when I first started, I actually started to feel really great pretty soon after starting. I mean, it doesn't take a long time to really start to feel like I'm on the upswing. So by 6 months, I kind of felt like, okay, I've reached the pinnacle of how good I'm going to feel. But I feel like it was more like 2 years in where I finally hit the peak of how good I was going to feel. So for those of you who are just starting and, you're thinking about doing 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, that's great. But know that you're going to continue to see healing and improvement for quite a long time. So you might want to, if you're finding benefit and there's still more stuff that you want to see healed, like keep going. A lot of times I feel like we get, I don't know, we expect so much of this diet and in such a short time period. And the reality is we've been eating the way we've been eating for forever. I was just actually talking about, I've finally gotten sugar and sweet stuff out of my diet. I believe that I am addicted to sugar, and it is a problem for me. And it was something that I was struggling with even as a carnivore. But I finally got it out, and I have been, sugar and sweet taste free since since last June. That was the last time I had some Dentine Fire sugarless gum. That was my favorite flavor. And that is amazing to me, because I don't think there's ever in my entire life when I have gone that long without having something sweet to eat. I know as a baby, my mom tells stories that they gave me like juice and fresh juice from like freshly squeezed oranges, but like when I was an infant. And so I was already having sweet stuff like from, probably barely months in. So, I don't know that there was ever a time in my lifetime when I went this long without tasting something sweet. So if that's the case for you, you have to understand that it's going to take a while for you to get the healing that you're looking for. It's just not going to come quickly, but it is going to come. The thing that's so incredible, I think, about the human body is that we're always in a state of healing. The body is always seeking to heal. So all you have to do is remove what is damaging it or presenting an obstacle to healing, and it's just going to, get started and go forward. And if you do that for a long enough time, who knows what you might find. I mean, there were things that changed for me, and there are things I know that changed for other people that we had no idea was like part of this. I was trying to lose some weight and, deal with my allergies, but I didn't expect, all the different ways that I would have healing to come in. And that's why, if you work with me, I do coaching and everything. And now I've started this, I called it a carnivore boot camp, but I'm going to change the name to Carnivore Reset. I like that name better. A Carnivore Reset program. But in the program, I do ask questions about how you're feeling, and trying to cover everything from, the tip top of your head and inside your brain all the way down to your feet, because there's so many things in your body that change and heal. And I don't think people always recognize that and give credence to it. So when I bring these things up, it's kind of like, people are like, oh, wow, yeah, all of these things felt better, but they're only focused on the scale. So, it's important to really pay attention to all the different things. Okay, let's see what else have you guys have got to say. Hey, Large Picture, it's great to see you. Awesome that you're here. Okay, Mommy Does Keto has been doing relaxed carnivore for almost a week and can already notice a big difference in your plantar fasciitis pain. I can walk normally straight out of bed. My husband thinks I'm crazy. So wait, Mommy Does Keto, are you saying that now that you're doing relaxed carnivore, your plantar fasciitis pain is better than when you were doing keto? I would imagine so. Yeah, I really struggled with plantar fasciitis. I think maybe a couple of months before I got started with losing weight. And yeah, it was really bad. And I had no idea like what to do. And, I'd read about people like taping up their feet, and I had different shoes that I tried to wear. And, it really was a struggle. So I don't envy you, but it was really amazing once I, started eating this way. All of the aches and pains went away, and I had a lot of them. Like I think that I had sort of resigned myself to getting older, and like it's just like, this is getting older. You just have aches and pains. It's hard to get out of bed. It takes a couple of minutes to like warm up your body so that you can get up and go to the bathroom. And so I kind of resigned myself to that being it. But, but then I saw that I just, felt so much better. And it was just like, I can't believe how much time I wasted thinking that, that this was normal, that it's fine and normal to feel bad. So I definitely recommend, diving in, try carnivore. And that's not to say, and I think it's also important to say that, carnivore is not like, there's no membership dues. There's no governing body that's gonna, kick you out if you eat a blueberry. It's not a religion. No one's asking you to convert or anything like that. So I think it's something that you can fluidly kind of move in and out of. And so if you're doing keto, I've definitely seen lots of people decide to do strict carnivore for a month after, coming back from vacation where they went wild, or, after the holiday season, or just, feeling like they, want to cleanse or something like that. So I think that it is certainly possible and permissible to just kind of, move between these categories. There's no rules. Really, at the end of the day, your body is the final arbiter. There are certainly things that we, knowledge that we have built up based off the lived experience of a lot of people who've been doing this now. So that, it's important to take that information under advisement. For example, a lot of people have trouble, with eggs and with dairy, even though they don't want to, maybe don't want to know that. But if you're not getting the kind of relief that you're looking for, you kind of got to look at these common allergies and common problems. And then you got to experiment, unfortunately, and you have to experiment well. So, don't try to introduce 5 different things and then figure out which one of those things caused your reaction. Okay. All right. So we have a lot of people here. So why don't you all hit the like button, please, and subscribe, and click the little bell icon so you can get notification every time I go live. And hop in the chat, because I am open to answering questions. As you can see, Arian is not here tonight, so I'm doing this by myself, and I'm enjoying it. I enjoy hanging out with you, and it's, I feel like it's a good time for me to, get the hang of doing this, have an opportunity to, to carry the show by myself. So awesome. Thank you for hitting that like button. So jump in the chat and please ask some questions. Let's see. Hey, Jocelyn, I'm glad you are here. And Mommy Does Keto says, yes, definitely. I used to have to wait and stretch when I got out of bed and still had to limp at first. I know it's not just me imagining it. I can walk normally right when I wake up. Yeah, it's definitely not you imagining it. And you're definitely not the only person that has experienced that. Um, okay. Hey, Miss Maya, great to see you. I'm glad you are here. And hey, Jocelyn, I'm so glad you're here. So, the other thing I wanted to say about the difference between keto and carnivore is that I think it's much simpler. So, when I first started keto in my day, years ago, and this was actually before the word keto was used, we were still just using the word low carb. There was a way to do keto really easily. There was not really any counting. You just had a list of foods you can eat, and, you could do it like that. Then you could also count carbs, but you didn't really have to do it that way. And I appreciated the ease of that, but things have become so complicated now, and so many people feel compelled to track everything, to make sure they're getting the right carbs counts, that their macros are on point, that they have these apps that calculate their macros independent of like actual numbers of grams of carbs or grams of protein. They also want to track their total daily energy expenditure and, balance that against how much exercise they're doing and all of that kind of stuff. And if you're a sciencey minded person and you like to do that kind of thing, that's okay. That's great. But, when you start to feel oppressed by it, then that's not so great. And, the reality is all of these things are, they're approximations. There's something that is written in a book, but it is not an actual measure of what's going on inside your actual body. It's not, when you're tracking this stuff in MyFitnessPal, it's not an actual measure of the actual piece of steak that is on your plate. So, you have to remember that all of this stuff is sort of, it's an estimation. And so that's okay, but you don't get. It's important not to get too invested in that estimation because it's not real fact in that sense. So I think it can be helpful for people to be able to go to carnivore and step back from counting and trying to account for every single bite. The reality is when you are when you're that closely focused on what you're doing, sometimes that can breed, disordered eating rather than, correct disordered eating. So what I loved about carnivore is that you don't have to count anything. You're for sure going to keep your carbs low, so you don't have to worry about that. And you can now start to listen to your body and trust your body to, to tell you how much you need to eat. Because that, at the end of the day, that is, I think, where we're all trying to get to, right? My goal anyway, is to be able to, maintain my health and my weight with ease and without hunger. And to do that, you need to be able to let your body send you signals and respond to those signals appropriately. And that's kind of it. So, I hope that, I hope that you can find that same ease in carnivore where you don't have to count anything and you can just eat and relax and enjoy the food you're eating, and then stop eating when you're not hungry and go for a long time even without eating again. Okay, let's see. Large Picture says, so I finally had some real beef ribs and they were absolutely delicious. Oh my God, awesome. I'm really glad that you had an opportunity to have that. Yeah, beef ribs are awesome. Awesome. I love them. And they're so big too. Like when you go to one of those steakhouses, or when I go to those barbecue places where they smoke the ribs and stuff, it's like you're getting a whole rib like this. It's like a brontosaurus rib or something like that. And then, okay, Large Picture says, but I'm still wondering, sometimes when I have pork ribs, I have to go to the library. Why is that? Is it the fat content? I think so. There's something different about pork fat than beef fat. And so I understand, and I'm not surprised that you would be going to the library. And let's see, flowers in the springtime. With the push to artificial meat, what will be the future for people who want to live this lifestyle, especially as prices may rise? I think that is the number one question. And I'm worrying about that too. I think everybody is worrying about that. I think first and foremost, we do need to start buying locally. We have to find local farmers and support them and work with them. That will help. We also need to make sure that we have access to them so that when we're not able to just buy meat at grocery stores, we will have access to people who have access to meat. So that's the second thing. And I think that we have to begin lobbying and organizing so that we are able to, write our elected officials and push back as they try to make regulations that restrict access to real meat rather than what is created in the lab. I think you're right to be asking that question, and that should be top of mind for everyone. And in fact, I had a really interesting conversation today with someone, his name is Mark Norquist of Modern Carnivore. And he's not I don't know, maybe he will one day become a carnivore, but his thing is focused not on eating carnivore, but on helping people who want to get out into the wild and be able to get their own food, to teach people to do that. And I thought that was really interesting. And he especially wanted to see if we can't have some kind of collaboration, because of course, those of us here who are eating our meat, we're becoming more conscious of the the type of meat that we're eating. First and foremost, I think many of us started thinking about meat as being a very nutrient-dense food and something that was really good. And then from there, I think a lot of us started thinking about, should I be eating grass-fed meat? Should I be buying my meat, in places where, I can know more about the farm? What is this regenerative meat? And I think the next step is to be able to go out and get our own meat, or get our own food. And I know my family, on both sides, actually, my mother's and father's side, the men hunted. That was how people got fed. So, it's not so far removed from me and from my family. And, perhaps that's a skill that we all need to maintain. And, who's to say what's going to happen in the future? So that seems like a helpful skill set to have. Okay, large picture. Oh my God, thank you for the super chat. Thank you. And anybody else watching, if you feel the need to give me a super chat, please go ahead, do it. I appreciate that, and it really is helpful to, and helpful to make sure I can continue to provide this kind of content for you. And Jocelyn asks, would you say more healing comes with carnivore versus keto? I would definitely say, I think more comes with carnivore because you are getting that reduction in inflammation. And we often, associate inflammation just with like, asthma or allergies, but that inflammation is, the cause of the IBS and the problems that we have in the gut. It's also the cause of, the brain stuff, the mood, depression, and actual mental disorders like, bipolar or, schizophrenia and stuff like that. Also, just our general inability to deal with stress and general anxiety. So there's a lot of things that really get touched by carnivore that may or may not get touched by keto. Some people, those things improve just by going keto, just from going, from the average American diet to moving to keto. But for others of us who maybe are more sensitive to dairy or to the omega-6 fatty acids and the seed oils, that stuff doesn't necessarily come out with keto. So I know when I was on keto, like, of course, I was still eating dairy. I was still eating a lot of nuts. And for many people, it's really hard to get off the nuts. So, so that can really present a problem. And what else? Well, for me, I was having a lot of pork products. So there was that. Yeah, I was doing all the things that I still had a lot in my diet that could come out that would, bring me greater success. And, just recently, like I was mentioning last week, that I ran out of eggs and butter, and then I just didn't buy any more. So I didn't eat them for weeks. And then I noticed, like, all my little flare-ups of my eczema just all went down. And it was like, oh, man. Are you kidding me? I can't have eggs anymore? And I'm not even sure which one it was, the eggs or the butter. So now they're both gone. So, yeah, I don't know what to do about that, but there was definitely a difference. And then today somebody sent me a smoked and cured duck breast. And I had a couple of pieces of that, and I'm definitely feeling like a little itchy and everything. And I'm just like, oh, man, yeah. That's out too. That just is a bummer. So there you go. Let's see. Mommy Does Keto says, I see how liberating that can be. Also, you have to learn to trust your hunger and satiety cues. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, to go back to being able to listen to your body. And, and for me, it's like, this is a first. I've spent my whole life being told that what I want is wrong, because that's essentially what we're told. You go onto a diet, you read Cosmo magazine or Vogue or whatever, whatever the magazine is, and it tells you that, you've got to eat this way, and, you got to kind of power through the hunger, or if you feel hungry, paint your nails, brush your teeth, put some lipstick on. But basically, the idea is to ignore the signals that you're being sent. And so, that leads you to think that your body is not telling you truthful information that you should care about. And that's, that's obviously not helpful information, and it makes you mistrust your body. So at a certain point, you're kind of at war with your body, and, that's not helpful to anybody. So I think that it's really nice as a carnivore to be able to reunite with your body so that, you're both on the same team. There's not this battle going on. So that's, that is a really beautiful thing. Okay, let's see. Mrs. VKC. I had beef heart for the first time, cooked it in my Instant Pot, and it was really good. Found the beef heart at my local ShopRite. Oh my God, that's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. And beef heart is super, super healthy. And that stuff, the CoQ10 that they, or CQ10, whatever, that supplement that everyone says you should have, and it's good for your heart health, that can only be found in the heart, and even those vitamins, when you buy it, is made from beef heart. So when you eat it directly, you are getting lots of that, plus all the benefits of eating eating muscle meat. So good job, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. I find heart has a strong flavor, so it's helpful to mix it up with stuff. But if you enjoy it straight, fantastic, amazing. Okay, and ZZ Captain says, oh, hey, welcome. I'm glad you're here. That's awesome. We have quite a few people here. So hit that like button again and the subscribe button, please. Okay, and Runner for Peace says, do you experience a lot of histamine issues with aged cured meats? Yes. Yes. I haven't been able to figure out, all of what, what it is, or maybe it's everything. But yes, I think I do struggle with the histamine stuff. So I've stopped eating old foods. I've stopped, Like I stopped the pork rinds. I don't know if the problem there is the oldness or the porkness. I stopped the canned fish, and yeah, that was definitely a problem. And I think probably with the duck, it probably was the cured, the fact that it was cured. So yeah, histamines are a problem. And if you watch the video that I put out on Tuesday with, the guy who wrote the book of The Ultimate Guide to the Steak, he also struggled with histamines, and, and yeah, it's a real thing. It's definitely a real thing for some of us. So that's not to say that that's forever going to be. I think that, I continue to heal. Like I said, I was eating eggs, and then when I took them out, like, I had a significant improvement. So that tells me that, like, I'm still healing, and I can still make mistakes and still eat stuff that's not helping me out. So, so it's not, it's an ever evolving journey. Like, there's no destination. Like, I haven't gotten there yet. It's just a constant journey. Let's see. Hey, Large Picture says, hey, 8A, I've heard that if your goal is to lose weight using carnivore, it's not the best diet for that. Is that the case? And if so, why or why not? Yeah, that's a great question. I think that it is fine for losing weight, but if you're looking for weight loss on the scale, then you're not going to see it. What I see with people is that, there's massive body recomposition. There's a lot of inches lost, but not necessarily weight on the scale lost. And so when people get too focused on the scale, then they're not necessarily seeing the weight loss that they want to see. So, that's sort of the main thing that I see with people. And then there's also, of course, a lot of inflammation loss, so a lot of water loss going on, and a lot of things healing and changing. And, honestly too, your body, like, knows best. It knows what's going on that's super bad, what's less bad, what's okay. And it's like healing the things that are urgent, and weight loss may not be urgent, comparatively speaking. So, it may take a little while. But that being said, when you're not counting your calories or tracking your food, I think that's a good thing, and getting used to your body and your body signals is a good thing. But I'm not, I'm not one of those people who's like calories in, calories out. You just got to count your calories. But calories do matter, and if you're a person that is also, in addition to just having been eating poorly and and trying to have a lot of the standard American diet foods, if you are doing that, but also are an emotional eater, the emotional eating piece doesn't necessarily go away once you go into, a keto or a carnivore diet. So, people still have to learn to manage their eating and their emotions, even once they've removed all of the junk food. So there may be, for some people, a need to be a little bit more strict about what they're eating, or pay attention a little bit to what they're eating, writing it down, tracking it, just to stay more aware of the behavior, and constantly questioning themselves if they're eating because they're hungry, or is this an emotional reaction. So for some people, I think that can be some of the reasons why weight loss can be slow. And then, there are people who, I'm not one of these people, and I can't, personally relate to it, but there are some people who are really good at restricting, and have been restricting their, food and calories for a long time. And so when they finally eat carnivore, the body's just like, yes, finally, nutrients, bring it on. We're going to take it all. And do go ahead and gain weight. But I think that is, perhaps a little more unusual, and, and maybe needs to be handled. There's probably more things there that need to be dealt with than just the nutrition. There's long-term health stuff that's happening. So, but I think that's a great question. Definitely. And let's see, Katora. Hey, Katora, it's great to see you here. Thank you for coming tonight. And Morena, so you asked, so carnivore is not best for weight loss. I think that carnivore is fine and great for weight loss, and there's a lot of people that do it, but you just have to remember that the scale is not going to change at the speed that you're looking for, but your body might be changing at that speed. You will lose inches and you will look different, even if you don't weigh different, or you don't weigh less. So, as I like to tell people all the time, nobody sees the number on the scale when you get on in the morning, but everyone can see exactly how tight your pants are. So it doesn't really matter what that number is on the scale, but it does matter, how many inches your butt and your thighs are, because that is quite noticeable. So if you're concerned about looking better, that's the thing to be paying attention to. Okay, ZZ Captain says, talking about eggs, the only kind to eat are the grass-finished birds. I tried grain-fed and do not get the precious cholesterol that comes from them. That may be a thing. I definitely find that eggs taste sweet. Chicken eggs taste sweet to me. I've had duck eggs and they were not sweet. So I'm going to guess that's because they're fed grain. And, but even that is coming from eggs that are labeled pastured. Again, these labels don't necessarily mean anything. There isn't necessarily anything behind them. Pastured, like that company, Vital Farms, they say that their eggs are pastured, but a couple of years ago, some people in the carnivore community kind of pushed to see what that really means, and they admitted that they are, what was the word? They're sort of a conglomerate that buys eggs from lots of small farms and then, packages them and sells them. And so they said that they don't control all the farms, and they said in the email they couldn't assure that every chicken and every egg was from a pastured egg. So that was something that went around in the carnivore community. It was very upsetting, and people were really pissed about it, as they should, as they should be. I mean, we're looking for pastured eggs, and we believe that to be, healthier. So, I continued to buy their eggs, but, who knows? Maybe they're pastured, maybe not. So, yeah, if you can find chickens that, roam wild and, eat bugs and worms and eat their natural carnivore diet, which is what they are, then, I don't know, maybe their eggs are better. I would definitely try that. Okay, and ZZ Captain also says, grain-fed does build up an overabundance of omega-6, according to the scientists I listen to. Yeah. So that was why I decided to just take out pork and chicken altogether, because I do notice an increase in my inflammation when I incorporate those into my diet in any meaningful level. So, so I'm sure I will have a piece of bacon again at some point in my life. I will have a sausage, but that is definitely not going to be even a monthly thing. It's going to be much more rare than that for me. So, but I'm really having a love affair with beef. I'm enjoying it a lot. And I don't know if you guys saw the post that I put up last night. Yesterday I made a beef bottom round. And that was my first time doing that. And, and it was a huge piece of meat. Like Whole Foods was having a sale. So I thought, let me just order 10 pounds or as much as I can. And they sent me two that were almost 6 pounds each. And so I put that one in the oven. I guess it was in there for about 8 hours. And, it was really good. So I actually sliced it up like roast beef. I sliced as thin as I could. And, I was kind of like, how do I warm this up without like cooking it more? Because it's a tough piece of meat and you really have to be careful about that. The way I cooked it, it was low and slow. So I cooked it at 170 degrees for 8 hours. So I really made it every effort to make sure it didn't get overcooked and it didn't get dried out. So I've been eating it today. I've just been eating it cold, like it's roast beef. And that's what it tastes like. I mean, it's roast beef, and it's pretty lean, but it's delicious. So I'm kind of like, I could do that again. Like I think I could definitely make it my business to find that cut and eat that again. I liked it a lot. So if you are going to be on Clubhouse on Saturday, I'm doing two shows, one at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is going to be carnivore cooking. And I'm going to talk about the roast that I did and other recipes. Other people contribute and talk about things that they're cooking. And I think that's really helpful because a lot of times, a lot of us don't really cook meat, don't really, know what to do. I know I get a lot of questions from people, like when I post scrambled eggs and steak and stuff like that, like, can you give me a recipe? And it's like, there's no recipe, but there's instructions about how to cook. And on Tuesday, you got a lot of instruction from Jack about how to cook a great steak. And, I want to bring that same kind of vibe to the carnivore cooking room on Saturday. And then at 11 a.m., I am doing through another club, the Keto Diet Clubhouse Club. I'm doing a room called, Keep It Simple. So it's basically beginner's questions on keto. So if you know anybody who is thinking about getting started with keto, but, just not quite sure, or you haven't been able to like twist their arm, send them to the room and hopefully they'll hear a lot of questions answered and things will make sense and they'll want to continue. So I encourage you to check me out on Clubhouse. And and then the other thing that I'm going to be doing is I think what I want to do is move the interviews that I've been doing to the podcast. So wherever you listen to podcasts, continue to listen to the interviews there. I will put a short clip on YouTube, but the whole video I'm going to just put up on Patreon. So I think that this is, it'll be better for the channel. So the content is still there, you still have access to it, but it'll be a better approach for me. So definitely, I think on Tuesday, what you want to do is look for the podcast on whatever podcast player you use, and or look for the video clip, and we're going to do it that way. And I'm going to start actually sending out emails once a week again, just kind of with a roundup of all the places, all the content that's being created, and the places that you can catch me. And but I'm looking forward to creating more content and in helping more people. So I'm really having a good time, working with people on this carnivore reset. The 30 days of intensive coaching that's, working with people one-on-one it's really exciting, because I love to see how, once you get like these little tweaks dialed in right, how amazing people feel on carnivore. And I know, it's hard for people to really imagine how great you can feel, but there really is a difference between keto and carnivore in terms of how you feel. And when I started keto, I felt 1,000 times better than I had on, the standard American diet. And it was just kind of like, wow, like I had no idea I could feel this good. And then I went on to do carnivore, and I mean, that wow again was like, oh my God, I didn't think it was possible to feel that much better than I had been feeling on keto. Like, I just didn't believe it was possible. And so now, believing it and experiencing it, it's like, I try to explain to people, but of course no one believes me. And, but helping people kind of, dial things in, get the salt right, get the electrolytes right, eat enough, get the fat right, eat enough fat, remove the things that are irritating you. And then, the way you can burst forward, the way your health can really start to skyrocket is, it's so gratifying to see people be able to achieve those things. So, so if you're thinking about it, if you've been on the fence and you've, want some more help and assistance to really make those changes, definitely reach out to me. You can go on my Instagram. I have all the links there, in my link tree, and, reach out, or just schedule like a 15-minute consultation, a free consultation, and we'll just talk about, what might be helpful to you. Okay, so Babu Orb, I lost 92 pounds in 3 months on carnivore and intermittent fasting. Wow, that is a lot of weight in 3 months. I am very impressed. That's really amazing. Normally it doesn't go quite that quickly, but good for you. I really, congratulations. I think fasting is fine, or can be fine, but I do discourage it at the beginning of just getting started with carnivore, because a lot of times what can happen is when you're eating protein and maybe not getting enough fat, your appetite can diminish, and so you end up with people just not eating enough at all, and so feeling tired and fatigued and irritable and all of that kind of stuff. So I discourage fasting in the beginning until you get the hang of the diet and you've got all the things dialed in. And then over time, just following your appetite and letting fasting happen naturally is great, and that's kind of the way it should be. And then later on, you can play around with, more aggressive fasting schedules if that is, something that's appealing, or, the health benefits you're looking for require that. So for anybody who's watching this, I don't want you to feel like, you've got to, have this really aggressive fasting schedule along with carnivore. I mean, fasting and carnivore is a powerful tool for healing, but they do not have to be wielded simultaneously to achieve the best health. And if you're not able to stick with the diet, you're going to have much worse outcome than, had you been doing I think trying to do carnivore and intermittent fasting together, if you're not able to do it and it keeps you from doing it at all, you're just, it's better off going a little slow. That's what I'm trying to say. So, yeah. So anyway, any more questions? This was a little bit of an Ask Me Anything. So, oh, Jocelyn, thank you so much. I really appreciate the super sticker. That is awesome. Thank you. So, and you're my number one fan. Thank you. That really does mean a lot to me. I appreciate that so much. Thank you. And Babu says, I didn't fast until my second month. Initially, I ate a lot of beef. Then I made 6-hour window and then cut to a 2-hour eating window. Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I'm glad that you were able to do it in a way that was comfortable for you. So that's awesome. So, So today I think we've had a pretty good conversation about what it means to be keto, and what it means to be carnivore, and how we can make these things, how we can apply them to our lives and our situations effectively. And I hope that if you were watching this and you were kind of thinking about whether carnivore was right for you, that you will, that you'll consider it for sure. Let's see. Babu says, did you get any muscle pains in the beginning? I think you're asking about muscle cramps, and yes, that's also pretty common. It's usually a sign of not enough magnesium, and people often deal with it by spraying, either getting a magnesium spray, which you can spray right on your leg, or taking more magnesium, taking Epsom salt baths, so that can also help. So, and making sure that you're keeping your electrolytes up. Those are, that's the most important thing. So, I think that's probably that's definitely a problem. Making sure that your electrolytes are right is definitely a problem when you're following keto, but I think it's even more of a problem when you're following carnivore. And I think it's probably because carnivore is so good at bringing down inflammation, and the way that your body gets rid of that water is by peeing it out. And where when you're peeing a lot, where goes the water, so goes the sodium. So you just have a much greater chance of getting your electrolytes out of balance. So that's my theory anyway, as to why it's even more important on carnivore to make sure that you're heavily salting your food and incorporating electrolytes. Now, I've definitely heard some people express concern about adding electrolytes. There are carnivores who do this salt-free, like they don't eat any salt. I've tried it. It didn't really appeal to me. So if you find that you've got symptoms that you are not able to get under control and you're doing salt-free, you might want to add salt. But if you're able to do it and, you're feeling good, then, then stick with it. No need to change what you're doing. Yeah. Okay. Well, we have been chatting for quite some time, and I think it might be time to wrap up. Unless there are any more questions, I think that we've had a really great conversation. You know what's coming up for next week. And, I think more things about me, right? Like, we didn't really do much Ask Me Anything. You didn't ask me more personal questions, which I would be willing to answer. But anyway, I had a good time today. Thank you for being so supportive and welcoming of this conversation that I have had by myself. But I actually enjoyed it, so I think I'll be okay if, when there are times that Arian can't come on, I'll be able to handle it. And I'm looking forward to doing more of this kind of content as well on the podcast. I'm gonna I kind of want to play around with a couple of different things, and the same with on Clubhouse. I want to try to make it a little, I might try to get some more doctors and experts to come and speak to us as well. So we'll see. But I look forward to some different kind of formats of content from me. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Have a great night, and I will see you all soon. All right. Bye.